Welcome to WrestleWolf. I am Dr. Damian Gibson, and this is our end-of-year awards spectacular. Welcome to the Wolfies. And joining me, as always, I couldn't do this without him, is the man who only deals in kayfabe, and now awards, Matthew Kayfabe.
I've got my tux on. I'm so excited to talk about what I think is the best and the worst of everything to do with wrestling. I even have some positive things to say about companies we don't talk about.
Same. Same. So it'll be interesting to see what the categories are, who wins them. Well, you know, essentially there's 2 awards being awarded for each category, one from Matthew, one from myself. So, you know, of all the wrestlers who will be listening to this episode, you know, if you don't get a Matthew Wolfie, you might get a Damian Wolfie. That sounds weird. Anyway.
I just want to be clear that I won't be giving any wolfies directly to wrestlers. Old ring rat Gibson over here.
Yeah, I'm a ring rat. I'll give a wolfie to whoever comes my way.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Well, we started
anyway,
with
this has got off to a really bad start.
We're wearing tuxedos. You know, where things have already.
My top half is a tuxedo, but I'm wearing a cocktail dress.
Well, you have to be prepared for a wolfie. So
exactly,
open things up like that.
Well, these awards are no longer called wolfies. What if, like, I don't really have these feelings a lot of nostalgia or thinking back. I kind of spend a lot of time thinking about the future, but not much about the past. And I had this moment while I was sort of doing this list of like, this year has been really fucking long. And the amount of time that I've spent at home, either, you know, working from home or whatever the case may be, you know, staying away from the world so you don't die. I've watched so much wrestling, it's not funny. This would be the most amount of wrestling I've watched in any year. And then we started doing this as well. So it just completely blew out how much wrestling we were watching. But yeah. I've got to say, like, it was probably the one thing that, well, not the one thing, but as far as entertainment goes, it was a constant that I could rely on to sort of escape the world for a long period of this year.
Yes.
Which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah. Thank you for continuing to run shows in a way that is probably like iffy health-wise. Like, seriously, because like I can't imagine how fucked this year would have been if I couldn't have watched Dynamite.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even just the other YouTubers and stuff like that. Like, I'll give a shout out to like Cultaholic, Simon Miller on What Culture. Just hours of, you know, watching watch-along videos with those guys watching Raw, you know, because there's not, I mean, they're very good at what they do, but also there was like, you know, nothing else to do because you're at home. So it was like, oh, I could watch Raw live. Oh, I can watch Cultaholic watching Raw live. Stuff like that, you know, yeah, just great. So I just wanted sort of to say that off the top before we start getting stuck into people and being really nasty
Yep.
and rude, that I really appreciate everyone who has put themselves out to make, you know, this weird, wonderful thing that we love.
And I only appreciate Vince McMahon and his company for continuing to put on shows. Thank you, Vincent.
Matthew Kayfabe has signed an exclusive deal, a developmental deal with WWE during the week. So all of his category winners will be from the WWE.
Yes, obviously.
Should we get stuck into it?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first category we've got is the Triple H Award. Triple H Award for the most meaningless win of the year. My Triple H Award goes to Gronk for winning the 24/7 championship at WrestleMania. And then losing it like 2 weeks later. We didn't see him again. I actually really enjoyed WrestleMania this year, and I thought they did very well for the weight of expectation that's on WrestleMania every year. They did a really good job of putting it over the 2 nights, nicking that from Wrestle Kingdom, but whatever, it worked. The one thing that was like, what the fuck is going on? It was Gronk. It was like, Gronk's coming. Then he showed up and was like, hey, I'm Gronk. Then won the 24/7 championship. Disappeared, did not come back on TV from what I remember. And then did like a tiny little vignette with R-Truth like 3 weeks later where R-Truth dressed up as his like gardener took the 24/7 championship off him. And then literally 2 days later, he was gone from like his contract had been ripped up. He was like going to play for the Buccaneers or something.
Well, he had a contract. He was supposed to be a wrestler. Like, I don't know. Like, obviously, like we don't follow American football, NFL. So like maybe he's a massive deal. Like maybe this would be the equivalent. Like, how would you feel if they were like, hey, this WrestleMania, we have Paul Roos hosting.
I would fucking love that.
And then he becomes 24/7 champion and never appears again.
Guys, if you want to win the 24/7 championship, you got to visualize it. I mean, you've just got to, it's just not going to come to you. You've got to go out and take it.
They could do a lot
holding
worse
a clipboard and a pen like on the couch.
Just for context for our non-Victorian Australian listeners, Paul Roos is former Fitzroy captain and also a Sydney coach.
Yeah, I don't acknowledge anything that he did outside of Fitzroy. So next up, we have I've named it, this might be a little harsh, but I've named it the Cesaro Award for Best C+ Player.
Ooh.
But when we say C+ player, we don't mean it in the sense of like the authority against Daniel Bryan. No. We mean it in the sense of like mid-carder, right?
Yeah, like this person is great to watch, a great part of any show that like whenever like their segment comes on, you're like, oh, great. But you're also not like, wow, I want to see this person face Kenny Omega or John Moxley. Like you want them to, entertain you for 10 minutes in the middle of a show. That's the way I took it anyway. Yeah,
that's kind of how I took it as well. I might be, a little bit more loosey-goosey with my with my winner, but who have you got for the Cesaro Award?
Kenny Omega. No, I've got John Silver.
John Silver, yeah, that's a good nomination.
He's so good. He's so funny. He was not someone that I knew anything about, and now I'm completely obsessed with him. I just desperately want him to put out a shirt that is wearable and not Dark Order based, because I will buy the shit out of it. I love his story at the moment with Hangman. Like I think it does a lot for Hangman to hang around with a guy like John Silver and show that he can do things other than just be big cowboy badass. Like, or, whiny millennial cowboy, depending on or alcoholic cowboy. It's nice for him to have a non-serious storyline, is what I'm trying to say. And John Silver's the perfect conduit to the mid-card.
Yeah, well, anyone who knows me knows that I don't like anything but serious wrestling. And I think it's a real mistake to have Kenny Omega hanging around with a couple of doofuses like John Silver and whatever his little mate is.
Hangman Page, not Kenny Omega.
What did I say?
Kenny Omega.
Look, it's all about Kenny Omega on this episode. No, look, I can. I like John Silver, and I'm starting to warm to the Hangman Page and Dark Order stuff a little bit, but I think it's just because I want Hangman Page to be a top guy. You know what I mean? Like I want him to be champion and be champion for a long time because I just think he'd be great at it. But
I think we got to let Kenny be champion for a while and then, let that storyline build.
I am really enjoying this. Enjoying that at the moment. My Cesaro Award goes to Sami Zayn.
Oh, that's fair enough. He's a mid-carder. He's been very interesting.
He was the. I didn't mean for all of these to be WWE, but they've kind of turned out to be. He was a great IC champion, kind of heel, Bobby the Brain heel type character with Shin and Cesaro at the beginning of the year. And then when the pandemic hit, he was one of the few wrestlers to be like, oh, I'm out of here, which made me like him even more. But he got the IC belt taken off him. And then when he came back, he did that great thing of like, I didn't lose the belt. Had his own IC belt that he walked around with for a bit, actually won the belt back in a match. Like I think it was Jeff Hardy, where he handcuffed Jeff Hardy to one of the pylons and then he got counted out, which was a new and inventive thing that I hadn't seen in a match before. And he's just super funny and charismatic. And the thing is, he's still kind of doing that Bobby the Brain wrestling, but he has the ability to be one of the best wrestlers, like in-ring performers on earth. Like he has been that guy before. So there's a part of me that every time, I don't watch much of WWE anymore, really at all, except for pay-per-views. And when I do see him, he's a guy that I'm like, oh God, I wish he would go to New Japan or AEW. So it was something, let's be honest, AEW. So he was on a show that I was watching weekly.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see El Generico return from the Mexican Orphans and have another few matches, but we'll take what we can get, unfortunately, which is Sami being treated like shit.
Yeah, I'm only going to get to see him once a month, but I mean, the fact that he has a belt is amazing because he went 5 years with nothing. So,
I mean, the guy was just on the pre-show. They had Big E, Daniel Bryan, and Sami Zayn on the TLC pre-show, which is
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. They've got no idea. Anyway, the next award is the Brothers of Destruction Award for Best Debut, Return, or Redebut.
That's a good. I didn't know you were going to title that one. That is a good award. So I think, to be honest, if this were to be the worst, which we're not going to do, it would be Miro. Just to throw that out there, just to throw in a little secret award. Have your Wolfie Miro. I think there's only really one serious option here, and it's Tribal Chief Roman Reigns.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah.
This was a hell of a re-debut. Paul Heyman, him coming out looking like an absolute murder man. His character's completely different. He's obsessed with being the tribal chief, the chief, him torturing his cousin. He just had a remarkable match with Kevin Steen at TLC. I think Roman Reigns is, as far as re-debuts go, that was a hell of a re-debut.
Yeah, that's, I didn't think of it as a re-debut, but it is. Yeah. No, that's a really good one. I've got one that happened right at the beginning of the year, and I think it's people can forget about it. But we were watching this together. It's Edge at Royal Rumble.
So I considered Edge here. The only issue with Edge was that things got really grim really quickly.
Yeah, for that actual moment, when it like there were a bunch of us watching it in a pub, and because we had all been talking about it beforehand. We were all watching it together, right? I didn't imagine that.
I don't know.
At Dave's pub, right? We watched Rumble together.
I don't know. I think so. Yes.
Yeah, because there were quite a few. Oh God, I can't remember. Maybe that wasn't. No, we did. We definitely did. I was watching it with. Anyway, I was watching it with someone at Dave's pub. I can't remember who was there. But as soon as you heard you think you know me, like the people in the pub went crazy, the people in the crowd went crazy, Michael Cole went crazy, Edge went crazy, and then he immediately got emotional, and then everyone else got emotional, like that in itself. And then when his theme hit, which is arguably one of the better themes of all time, even though it's not really music that I would listen to myself.
No. Although,
it just
it
was just a magical moment. It really was.
It may be one of the best themes of all time, but it's not even Edge's best theme. Like the Red Red Groovy by Rob Zombie is a pretty sick song.
Yeah. Well, he's a music guy, so it doesn't surprise me that he has good themes. You can tell who has shit taste in music by
Randy
themes,
Orton.
Yep. I do have another one.
Ooh, what do you got?
Which is not like I'm going to give it to Edge, but it was a close run thing. Sting.
Yeah, so I thought about Sting as well. And I didn't read the spoilers. I was like, holy fucking shit, that's Sting. Like, this is such a meaningful, incredible thing. But he's also a 61-year-old man. So that was sort of my, this isn't Sting returning to the Impact Zone in 2005, where he's still got, a lot of juice left in the tank.
Yeah, but I think, and you were the person that pointed it out to me, the way that they're booking him, I'm really enjoying. When I saw him, my first instinct was like, holy fuck, it's Sting, I love Sting. And then I was like, oh no, he's really old. I don't really want him to wrestle anyone. Unless he can go, but he's been super injured and all these doubts came into my head. But him essentially being the conscience, being the moral compass of AEW so far, I've really enjoyed. So, but I'd probably go with Edge just for that Royal Rumble moment, and did do some pretty good wrestling when he came back. Even that the match at WrestleMania was that the great? No, hang on.
No, that was later. Confused. The greatest. The match at WrestleMania was.
There was
terrible.
The hardcore match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was the last
terrible.
man standing. That was.
But that went for 40 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love Edge, so I'm giving him a bloody award. There you go. Next up, we've got the Terry Funk Award for the wrestler who should have retired at the beginning of the year.
I'm not even going to preamble this. The Undertaker.
Oh fuck, that's good.
Look, yeah, Boneyard match was fine, but it is, to be honest, a little bit overrated. And he doesn't look like someone I would want to watch on TV. And then they spent the rest of the year progressively destroying the character of the Undertaker until he had the most underwhelming retirement ceremony that they built like it was going to be an angle, and it was actually just him being like, hey, you've seen me hanging out with my wife and kids and making breakfast. I'm going to go do more of that. Peace out to you, WWE Universe. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah. Well, it's because Vince signed him to a 15-year deal for squillions of dollars, and so they're getting their money's worth. But it sucks because whether you're, pretty much everyone is an Undertaker fan, right? It's just sort of levels of Undertaker. Everyone respects him, and I think it's been harder and harder to do that over the last 10 years when you have really been like, fuck, just retire, man, for God's sake. Or at least reinvent yourself in a way where we don't see the foibles of your physical ability in the ring. And that's why I think people were so happy with the Boneyard match at WrestleMania, because it's the perfect, the perfect ending, defeating AJ Styles, who will be a Hall of Famer, eventually.
In Impact.
In Impact, maybe WWE. Yeah, it was just kind of perfect. And then it was like, hey, do you want the Undertaker to come around and be the clown at your kid's birthday? Well, he'll do that. Do you want a cameo from him? Check out Undertaker on fucking TikTok, dancing to The Weeknd.
Check out his OnlyFans.
What is going on here?
Have you ever wanted to see The Undertaker wank? Well, here you go.
After he comes, that's when he's like, rest in peace. His eyes roll back in his head. He's like, rest in.
You think he's done, and then he sits back up.
Yeah, then his penis sits back up.
Wow, we're talking about the Undertaker's penis. What was yours? Who do you think should have retired?
Look, anyone who listens to our podcast is not going to be surprised here. And this is actually me being nice because I had this guy in another section. It's Christopher Daniels.
Yeah. Well, you think that he obviously, instead of retiring, should have been forcibly drowned by religious extremists in a river.
Yep.
In 2007.
Yep. 100%. Fuck off. Please go away. Now that I've watched a little bit of Impact and know like some Impact history, it's like, this is why everyone loves these guys, because they were Impact dudes.
Yeah. I mean, he was going to be the leader of the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness until Vince McMahon. That's the fallen angel. Christopher Daniels was going to be the secret power, or whatever the fuck it was called, the hidden power. And then Vince McMahon saw him and was like, "This guy's tiny. No." And then Vince McMahon, it was him, Austin.
It was me. It was me all along, except it was Christopher Daniels, but it was me.
Yep. So yeah, there you go. But yes,
just in the sense of like, because he doesn't let me quantify it. One, yes, I don't like SCU, and it's probably a little bit irrational, but he just looks. One, I hate the Freddie Mercury shit. Like, I just hate that. What is that? What is going on? I don't understand. Are you meant to be Freddie Mercury? You're just a Freddie Mercury fan? You know, and then of all the bands on earth that you've picked the most generic rock band. You might as well be John Bon Jovi coming out to the ring. You know what I mean? Like, I feel generic when I say my favorite band's the Beatles, but you're coming out as Freddie Mercury. Like, Jesus Christ. And then when you're in the ring, he looks old. Like, he looks so old.
Yeah,
and people are like, he can still go. And like, as someone who has no prior allegiance to him, and I'm just basically watching him for the first time all year, or basically since Dynamite started, I was like, who's this guy? Why is he here?
Yeah.
And nothing's changed in 12 months. I haven't been like, I see the value of Chris Daniels. He seems like a really nice guy. Everyone loves him in the locker room and all that kind of thing. So I can understand wanting to have him around for those reasons. But him and Kazarian constantly showing up in and around the title picture in AEW needs to end. It needs to end really quickly.
I think Kazarian legitimately can still go. Not a great rapper, but can still go in the ring. Christopher
I only
Daniels,
just got over that segment.
Christopher Daniels should
go
me of it. Elsewhere.
Yeah. Maybe, like, he seems like he can talk and stuff, so maybe as a commentator, you know, something like that. Or as a backstage coach or something, but just not wrestling.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. Next up, we've got the... Yeah, let's do this now. We've got the Jack Swagger Award for the worst wrestler of the year.
Ooh, this is a big one to come this early. It's not that early, but it's early-ish. I am so confident in my choice for this. This person is a sack of shit. They are terrible to watch. They eat up programming on a show that could have, you know, Brian Pillman Jr. or, you know, all kinds of, you know, just more Ray Fenix in the ring. They could have more Park, more Eddie Kingston talking, you know, Britt Baker's waiting room segments. They could do all of that stuff, and instead they've got a balding, fat QT Marshall eating an apple. He's had actual storylines based around him. Whatever photo whatever Cody has done in the past is disgusting. But Cody, you need to own up to your own behavior, and you need to get QT Marshall off my television. That's a threat.
You've got to David
stop
Letterman
threatening people in these episodes.
I like it. I like you being the enforcer. Yeah, you've got to David Letterman this, man. You got to get out in front of it. Stop letting QT Marshall blackmail you into becoming like an actual wrestler. He's actually my pick as well. So this is our first. This is our first joint awarder of the same. You guys know what I mean.
Like, Brandon Cutler's bad, but like he's not there. It doesn't matter. He's not on TV.
Yeah.
Whereas
he's on BTE, and that's fine. That's where he should be.
And QT Marshall shouldn't even be there. He should be He should be dead. That's how.
Where's Randy Orton when you need him?
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's so unentertaining. Like the only storyline I want to see for QT Marshall is literally Lance Archer kills him in one of his weird forest segments.
Yeah, and eats his face.
Yeah.
So we know that he's definitely dead.
Yeah. And like they actually have like real ambulances come and do the like, you know, they're like he's gone, and then we follow them to the cremation. It's like a package, so it's cut together. It's about 5 minutes because that's all I really want of QT. But we really know that he's not coming back.
Yeah, we need to know that.
I just want QT Marshall's family to know that they should be ashamed of being associated with him.
And TK, we're starting to become quite powerful. You know, I mean, people are starting to listen to our podcast for some bizarre reason. So, you know, you keep putting QT on the show, like we'll fuck up your show.
We will.
We'll fuck up your audience.
Proud Boys.
We'll make people watch.
Stand down.
We're so charismatic. We're so charismatic. We'll make people watch WWE.
Oh, God. We won't, but we will suggest to our audience that.
We absolutely will not.
We could just watch NWA instead of Dynamite.
Yeah, well, that's if they NWA don't know what they're doing at the moment, man. You know that this week's Shockwave was the last one.
Oh, there's 3.
There were 4, and then it's done.
What a stupid show!
Oh, I know.
Imagine making
NWA.
Imagine making Nick Aldis a champion.
Hey.
That's sorry. I was actually changing from QT Marshall to Nick Aldis.
Oh, whatever. Next up, we've got the Dungeon of Doom Award for Best Faction.
So I came up with the idea of doing this award, and then I thought about it, and I was like, "Whew." Like, you can't really put a 3-person group as a faction, because I was like, I guess Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. But it's the Inner Circle, but only because the Undisputed Era, like if this was 2019, it'd be the Undisputed Era. But the Undisputed Era haven't been much of a faction. Either of the Inner Circle. Like, it's just...
I think the Inner Circle for the first 6 months of this year were really good.
I guess they had the Stadium Stampede match, and that was exceptional. They're better than the Elite.
And I think they're still good now. It's just like, there's this MGF story going on, and I don't know, for some reason it's just not popping the same. You know, maybe our expectations were higher than they should have been for that. But so is Inner Circle your pick?
It's my pick.
Right. Well, my pick is Retribution.
Why?
No, I'm joking. It's Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. I didn't realize that wasn't a faction.
Well,
that's a faction, right?
I guess it is now, and I regret my pick.
I didn't realize 3 people couldn't be a faction.
Well, I guess 3 people could
NWO was a faction. They were 3 people.
There were 3 people for about 5 minutes, and they were teasing the fact that they were secretly more. But anyway, I see your point. I'm going to allow this because I don't have any control, and I don't want the audience to see how powerless I really am.
No, well, I can't. All right. Well, if we're not doing 3 people, then I'll do Evil Bullet Club.
No, I think Best Friends and Orange Cassidy is a legit. I think they were
they're a legitimate faction. They're always together. They help each other out. That kind of thing.
And they're not. It's not just team.
Like, yeah. You know, I would have gone with. I mean, there's the Kingston Boys. But they've been a faction for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, and they already have had a breakup or a split storyline.
Yeah, so 2 of them have already left.
They're not.
No, I'm going to stick by. I'm going to stick by my guns and say OC and the best friends.
Great call.
Who, they're like. I mean, there's been a lot of sort of success stories of people who weren't doing, especially in AEW, people who weren't doing that well at the beginning of the year, who have, through the pandemic, managed to get themselves to the top of the card. Britt Baker would be one of those. Hangman Page is probably another one. Even Kenny Omega, which sounds strange given that it's Kenny Omega, but I think the Orange Cassidy and especially the Best Friends were. Remember that period where there were 4 episodes in a row that were all filmed in the other
Yes.
Training center? I think that might have been QT Marshall's training center. But they only had about 20 wrestlers to work with, and Jericho was on commentary and stuff, and that was when, for me anyway, watching the Best Friends wrestle quite a bit, I was like, oh, these guys are really good. I mean, I'm sure anyone who'd been watching indie wrestling for the last 10 years would have been like, oh, duh. But I hadn't seen them before, so I sort of fell in love. I already loved Orange Cassidy, and I liked the Best Friends hugging. It's like a 5-year-old, But yeah, over the course of the year, they've legitimately become probably my 3 favourite wrestlers. Although that changes every 5 minutes, but they are definitely up the top of my 3 favourite wrestlers in AEW.
Yeah, it's a great pick.
Next up, we've got the Hulk Hogan Memorial Award for Best Heel/Face Turn.
R.I.P. Hulk. The Young Bucks. We wanted them so desperately to be heels, so desperately. They didn't give it to us for so long, which is such fantastic heel work. And now they did, and they're sick. They're so much fun to watch. Kicking commentators, being assholes. They're tag team champions. They're great. They're exactly what they should be. And all it took, this is 1996 Hulk Hogan, where you're like, my God, this man should not be a face. This is unbearable to watch this person be a good guy. And then as soon as he turns, you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
This is good.
That's a really good pick. I didn't even think of them as an option. As soon as you said it, I was like, fuck yeah, that's the most obvious. Well, maybe not the most obvious one, because I think I've picked the most obvious one, which is Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Well, I obviously picked him for best re-debut, which is essentially a way to have said, the reason why that was great was because he re-debuted as a heel.
Yeah, yeah. But you can have the two, yeah. I've also just noted down Evil in New Japan, which I know we don't really do any New Japan stuff, but he was a good guy for a really long period of time, and then the turn was great, and people were it happened at basically the first live event where people were allowed back, and the poor people in the audience were so upset that Evil turned and joined the Bullet Club. But anyway,
he's called Evil. How can he be a good guy? He's called Evil in New Japan. What's old Japan? You know what I mean? Anyway, sorry. Got about 3 minutes on New Japan.
Is there an old Japan wrestling? But Roman Reigns heel turn. I mean, you were on the old podcast that I did with some other friends as well, and I felt like that show became the turn Roman Reigns heel show. Just every episode we did was next up we've got Roman Reigns. When the fuck are they going to turn this guy into a heel? He needs to be a heel. I think we fantasy booked it at least 25 times.
Yeah.
So when it actually happened, I was legitimately happy. And he's great. He's great. I love how quiet he is all the time. And so when he does actually get angry and sort of almost like a bear, he's always sort of sitting down as well in all the promos that he does. So when he gets up and projects, you're actually like, holy shit, this guy's fucking huge and terrifying.
No, it's great. He is great as a heel.
He really is. As a heel, he's fantastic. And Paul Heyman as his weird little sidekick is awesome as well. All right, we're starting to get up to some big awards here. The next one is I don't have a name for it, so if you think of one on the fly, feel free. Story of the year.
The Katie Vick story of the year. The answer is Kenny Omega. Just all I've written is Kenny Omega. His journey in 2020 has been the story of the year. And now he's sitting on Impact Wrestling with Don Callis in a bus, calling Carl Anderson Gunner again and again and again, and doing pretend gunning. It's great.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, you kind of think at the beginning of the year, like I mean, for the first 6 months of the year, it was, but well, I suppose, like, actually, it's been Kenny versus Hangman the majority of the year, right? And now it's Kenny versus everyone else and getting the Bullet Club back together. Although that seems to be an Impact only thing, but
we'll see.
That's cool. Yeah, he really has been, and I thought about picking Kenny, but I have one that I think sums up. I don't think you're going to like it, but I think it sums up what I like about wrestling. And it's the Otis Mandy storyline that concluded this year with Otis getting together with Mandy.
You picked the best wrestling storyline of this year. This is your serious. You're giving Otis a wolfie right now.
Yeah, 100%. Because it was actually written really well over a long period of time.
God, the listeners are right to not respect you.
Dude, I think a lot of them will agree with me, and I'm sure if you look at a lot of people's lists at the end of the year, this storyline will come up over and over again.
No,
the thing that I feel it will 100%. Well, I know for a fact that Cultaholic have it on theirs, so
they're wrong too, and the listeners hate them too.
Yeah, the hundreds of thousands of people who watch and listen to them on a weekly basis.
Yeah, well, people go to Donald Trump rallies as well. Like, just popularity doesn't matter, Damian.
It was a fantastic soapy wrestling storyline that does not happen enough, and it's what WWE, WWF used to be amazing at, was like watching these Jerry Springer soapy storylines.
Well, spoiler for the 2021 Wolfies when you're like, the culmination of the Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford, Miro romance angle.
Maybe I will.
Oh God, I can't believe this has happened.
Maybe I will. But let me break it down even further.
Please.
It put Otis over, right? So Otis and Tucker were just like a okay tag team that had come up from NXT. But people started to fall in love with Otis because he was just this bumbling guy who loved Mandy, the girl of his dreams. He was never going to get with her. It put Mandy over because she was this nice girl who just wanted to go out with a nice guy. She didn't choose Dolph. It helped Dolph get back into any kind of even just mid-card picture because no one gave a fuck about Dolph Ziggler. And Dolph Ziggler is amazing at being an arsehole, especially when there's any kind of woman involved. And ultimately, it gave birth to heel Sonya Deville, who is one of the best talents on WWE, full stop.
Look, that is a incredible gymnastic performance for you to justify your terrible pick for story of the year.
All of it's true. You can't deny anything that I said. All of that happened through that storyline. And it was told over a long period of time. There were actual plot points to it. I mean, as much as there can be in a wrestling show. And when they got together, it was just a nice, feel-good moment exactly when we needed it after everyone on Earth had been locked down. It was nice to see someone who's not considered like the most handsome guy in the world get together with a very Vince McMahon-looking woman in Mandy. The fact that it was done in WWE at all felt like a triumph.
A triumph for the ugly gentleman who hopes to...
For the chubby, ginger ginger bearded guy who loves ham, you know.
Yeah,
I genuinely love this story, man. I genuinely love this story. I knew you were going to pick Kenny Omega, so I had to go with the second story. And this, I was still watching WWE regularly then, and it was one of the few things I actually looked forward to seeing, because it was one storyline that was done over a long period of time. Everyone who was in it and doing, like, giving it 100%. And it put everyone who was in it was put over except for Tucky.
And now they're, and Otis won Money in the Bank and cashed in and became champion. Mandy Rose, is still a regular and a real quality performer on TV. Dolph Ziggler, putting in week after week.
That's the thing. They just, like, they could have, like, there was so much momentum coming off that storyline, and then they separated Mandy and Otis. Dolph disappeared. Sonya Deville had some horrible things happen in her personal life, which kept her off TV. But there was a Sonya and Mandy storyline that was actually pretty good, but then things happened with Sonya Deville that stopped that from happening, unfortunately. So I'll defend this until my dying breath, this decision.
Fair enough. Well, look, you've made some good points. I think you've gymnasticked yourself into this tiny box, but at least you tried. You made some good points. I'm glad that you enjoyed the Mandy Otis storyline more than any other storyline this year.
Yep.
And I look
100%. Not even ironically, like, just loved it. We're already up at some. It feels like I've missed something because, like, I'm like, oh yeah, these are massive awards. The next one we've got is pay-per-view of the year.
I've got Full Gear, opening with Serena Deeb defeating Allysin Kay for the NWA World Women's Championship. Kenny Omega defeating Hangman Page for the shot at the AEW title. Orange Cassidy defeating John Silver. Darby Allin defeating Cody Rhodes for the TNT Championship. Sheeta defeating Nyla Rose in a really underrated match. The Young Bucks beating FTR for the Tag Team Championships. There's a 19-minute distraction of Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara that are probably, oh no, this is the Elite Deletion match. This was good too. Ha!
Yeah, it was.
MJF defeating Jericho, which, was fine. And then Moxley, Eddie Kingston, which was one of the best matches in AEW. Like, whether, I think that they managed to somehow keep Eddie Kingston's character alive while making him say "I quit" to Jon Moxley. It was a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was. And that was one of my two choices. And so I will go with my second one, which was WrestleMania this year. Almost all my bloody things are WWE, which I did not want. But
we literally yesterday were like like, isn't it exciting that the podcast is doing so well when we don't talk about WWE?
Yeah, I know, but I've got to be honest. I can't lie. It was my second favorite pay-per-view for the year after Full Gear. Like, I looked through the AEW pay-per-view. I was just like, there's got to be something that they've done that I like more than WrestleMania, but I didn't like. The reason why I picked WrestleMania is the Boneyard match, which I really enjoyed, especially at the time. I was like, oh, that's fantastic the way that they booked that. I loved the Firefly Funhouse match, which I know has copped a lot of flack, but I just thought there was so much, like, inside baseball shit in there for marks that was so funny and so great. And the fact that John Cena completely swallowed his pride and allowed Bray Wyatt to basically book him however he wanted, and to lose to Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania was great. And there were also matches like Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan, which is, if that's not a Damian Gibson match, I don't know what is. The Kevin Owens Seth Rollins match, where Kevin Owens did the, sort of like cannonball off the WrestleMania sign, was pretty amazing. That was the Otis. That was where Otis defeated Dolph Ziggler as well for
end of the best story of the year.
Yeah,
in
for
April.
the Mandy storyline. I just read. Oh, and Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar as well.
And the night beforehand, and this is one of the great.
Oh, and then the Big Show.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was bizarre. But also, Braun Strowman won the WWE Universal Championship of Goldberg for some reason.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It shows.
Holy shit, he did too. Yeah.
I would also say that probably the match I have enjoyed least this year was on that. And I agree with you. Like that WrestleMania, particularly the Cena match, probably is the second best pay-per-view, maybe third best, because All Out was so underwhelming as well. But I actually enjoyed TLC significantly more than WrestleMania, or maybe not significantly more, but I thought it was a really, really good pay-per-view. Like I thought everything on it was excellent, but it didn't include 37 minutes of Edge and Randy Orton. Which was
that was the match where I sent all of my text messages to all you guys about what had happened so far. That was my break time where I was like, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, it's weird for like such a wrestle-filled year and a lot of, so much that I've loved. There weren't a huge amount of pay-per-views that I was blown away by any company. Like all of the AEW ones except for oh god, now I'm going to go blank. The one where Matt Hardy almost died.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
I can't remember, but that was bad.
Yeah. But you guys know the one we're talking about. That wasn't a great pay-per-view, but all the other AEW pay-per-views or bigger events on Wednesday nights were really good. I really enjoyed those. But I knew that Matthew was going to pick Full Gear, so I went with WrestleMania. And it's pretty much the only WWE pay-per-view that I've really enjoyed this year. And I also love the fact that they split it in half, because that thing goes way too long.
Yeah. No, great.
All right, so next up we've got promo of the year.
I put this in as a late, can we do best promo, because I needed to give Eddie Kingston an award for a guy that I had not really heard anything about, not seen. He's so real, he's so raw, and he makes you believe that he believes what's going on, and that for me, a gentleman of kayfabe is very, very important. I don't like the winking at the camera stuff. I like to really believe that this matters to this person. Coming in from, I had to buy my wrestling boots back from a pawn shop, and I need to pay my rent, to running the Bobby the Brain Heenan style stable of heels. Eddie Kingston's just, every time he's picked up the microphone, he's been engaging, enthralling, in fact. And I just I never want to fast forward or skip when he's talking.
I think that's completely fair. I lied when I said that I don't have any more WWE awards to give out.
Who you got?
I've got two. One is Kenny Omega and Don Callis, basically for their continuing promo over the last 2 weeks. But the first one on Impact in the bus, where Don Callis went on about an 8-minute rant, and I totally fell in love with him. Things like some people make matches, Kenny and I make history. It's all kind of lifted from Muhammad Ali and people like that, but it's
great.
Great, and he lifted it from wrestling. So it's what goes around comes around.
Take that out.
So I love that.
Thief.
But I did not call Muhammad Ali thief. He has said that himself. It's on the record. He said that he loved wrestling, and that's where he got a lot of inspiration for his brash style. The other promo that I really loved, and I hate the fact they keep bringing up WWE, but this was, I actually got emotional watching this promo was when Becky Lynch handed over the Money in the Bank briefcase to Asuka, and then Asuka saw that she got the women's belt. I think it was the Raw belt. And then and said that she was going because she was having a baby. And then the reaction from Becky Lynch and Asuka was like real because they hadn't told her, and it was just a really again, deep in the bowels of lockdown, it was nice to see people happy. Especially in wrestling, and it's two people that I really love in Becky Lynch and Asuka, and it was just a really nice, genuine, beautiful moment in wrestling that doesn't happen very often, and really class from Becky Lynch to make that happen. She went to Vince and it was her idea. I suppose you got to give credit to the old man for actually ticking off on it, but Becky and Asuka was a really, like, I actually sent that to people who don't watch wrestling, and none of them got back to me. But I just thought it was such
so guys,
a nice
if you're
thing,
listening, just feel free to text Damo back.
No, I don't. It happens a lot where I send things to people and no one writes back to me. Oh, you might like this. Nothing. But yeah, so that's Don Callis at one end of the year and Becky and Asuka at the other end.
Yeah, I see. I think we've had different interpretations of this because I've obviously picked a continuous Eddie Kingston as the best promo, and you've picked
as the best promo. But, right, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, fuck. I'd probably have to pick Eddie Kingston as well. No one on WWE. But yeah, there's a lot of people on AEW. Like, I really like Jon Moxley promos. I know that they can be a bit cookie cutter, but there's times where I really like him as a promo guy.
Sting. It's a little joke because Sting's not very good on the mic. Anyway,
Cody's very good.
Yeah, Cody's very good. Yeah.
I probably should have picked Cody. But anyway, I was thinking of it in one promo.
I would give you my promo of the year, but I would have to actually put quite a serious amount of thought into, because you don't want to forget. My promo of the year is the Jake Roberts in the locker room when Lance Arch is beating people up behind him and then turns him around and rips open his shirt, the back of his shirt, and he's written something on it. He's written "Everybody Dies" on Jake Roberts' back. That's the best promo of the year. Congratulations.
All right, we're going to get into the matches of the year now. Best tag match.
Proud and Powerful versus Best Friends on Dynamite.
Shit. They've got the same thing.
It is objectively the best tag match of the year. I spent a lot of time going through Meltzer ratings and stuff, and I was like, there was nothing I saw that I enjoyed more than Proud and Powerful versus Best Friends on Dynamite.
You know what? I'll go with the Young Bucks versus Butcher and the Blade.
That was another
one of the first shows that they did at Daly's Place where we found out that Butcher and the Blade work in the bowels of Daly's Place.
I love that. That was great.
And you were so excited about me watching that match because you're like, fuck, this is such a Damian match. And it was, and I loved it. And that was around the time where I started going, I get the Young Bucks. I didn't like them, but I started to get them.
Well, I think it was also around the same time that we were like, holy shit, the Butcher and the Blade are actually great.
These guys are really good. They're really good.
More of them, which is something I don't think if you listen to our early episodes, we were like, why are Butcher and the Blade here? No one cares about them. And they made us care.
Yeah, for sure. We've got, next up, the best female match.
This was a really hard one.
Or women's match, sorry. I should say female.
This was a really hard one, but I ended up going Bayley, Sasha Banks at Hell in a Cell.
Oh, wow.
It's a great match. It's just straight up a great match. It's a culmination of a pretty good storyline that was a long-term storyline. I think the very few bits of WWE I've watched this year, I've been sort of tuning into them, particularly, I'll check out on YouTube their segments or whatever, just because I wanted to get to the matches where they were, two of the best in the world facing each other. And this paid off. This was excellent. in my opinion.
I've got it's really recent, and it's Priscilla Kelly versus Thunder Rosa on NWA Shockwave 3, but it also was on Primetime Wrestling. I don't know if anyone besides me who has watched those Primetime NWA specials. It is genuinely a fantastic, just a fantastic match. It goes for about 15 minutes. They beat the living shit out of each other, and I instantly fell in love with Priscilla Kelly as a wrestler on the basis of this. I spoke about it on the NWA Shockwave, short-lived NWA Aftershock podcast that we do, where I think I said on that podcast it's one of my favourite matches of the year, and it's turned out to be my favourite women's match of the year. And, like, man, anything that Thunder Rosa's in is going to be at the top of my
that's a great
list,
match.
man. I love her so much.
That's the rare match where you were like, hey, you've got to watch this. And I did, and it was great.
Yeah, I don't usually bother Matt with NWA stuff, but I was like, this is seriously fucking good. And next up, we've got the male match of the year, or men's match of the year.
Kenny Omega versus Adam Page at Full Gear is my pick.
I tried to come up with a second match, and I could not. My pick is also Kenny Omega versus Adam Page at Full Gear.
It's a hard one because, as we said, it has been sort of an underwhelming pay-per-view year, and that's sort of where, you know, what you consider a great match is that. And like, I'm slightly disappointed that I sort of thought that Moxley Omega might be, you know, the match of the year, but I think because of it just didn't. It was very good, but it wasn't as good as this. You know, there was a long build to this. There was a lot of pathos. There was a great storyline, and they told it in the ring. And it was probably the first time in AEW that you've looked at Kenny Omega and been like, "Oh, best bout machine, hello."
Yeah, 100%. It was, it was the sort of, you know, coming out, or, you know, breakout match for Kenny Omega, which is weird because it's Kenny Omega and everyone knows how good he is. But yeah, it just kind of, you know, by his own admission, hadn't sort of broken through in AEW for some reason, but 100% has now, and I think that match was the beginning of it.
You know, AEW is going to have the biggest moment in AEW, if everything is done well, is going to be in a year and a half when Adam Page defeats Kenny Omega for the title after Kenny Omega's been unstoppable and cheated and done all this kind of stuff. You know, this match needs to happen to get to that match in a long time. And it's just great. Like, it's great. It was great to watch, and, you know, it will be, it keeps excitement up for future bouts.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, we're into the big three.
Big three.
Yeah. We'll start with best tag team of the year.
The Young Bucks. I just couldn't see any other tag team that had the same level of impact. Like, I think there was a brief period of time where FTR could have, you know, but they've sort of, you know, not been as consistent, not been as visible. And, you know, the Young Bucks are playing better heels than FTR did. You know, maybe next year's FTR's year, but this year's the Young Bucks year.
Yeah, I've gone with the Young Bucks as well. And trust me, listeners, I tried to find every possible way to not give these motherfuckers an award. But you just can't. There's you know, any of the best matches in AEW throughout the course of the year, they're in them. You know, I mean, Matt nominated them as his heel, you know, turn of the year. They were in my favorite tag match of the year. They're, you know, I mean, it's kind of half a joke of me hating the Young Bucks. They're an amazing team. And I literally couldn't. I thought about putting FTR in there. I thought about putting Hangman Page and Kenny Omega in there, seeing that they were champions for so long. Even Best Friends. I didn't bother putting a WWE team in there because there's already way too many winners from WWE on my side of the card. But I couldn't go past the Young Bucks, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't want it. I don't like giving Matt and what's the other one's name? Nick credit.
Well, I think that shows that they've definitely been the best. Like the fact that you feel that way, even. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be reasonable, but I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. Best female wrestler.
Britt Baker. She started the year as, completely, this painful baby face that was disinteresting. Then she got injured and became the best thing on AEW. And despite the fact that both Bayley and Sasha at times this year had been the best thing in WWE, I think Britt was there was a period of time where AEW was sort of creatively just sort of floating and, doing good things, but Britt was the most exciting and different thing on AEW. And that was a surprise. And, I think she deserves it. And I think she will continue to be great.
Yeah, you guys can't see that, but I was nodding my head to everything that Matt just said about Britt Baker. I think both of our female choices are probably pretty obvious for anyone who listens to the show. Mine's Thunder Rosa.
Great choice.
In the sense of for the majority of the year, she had nowhere to wrestle, and then just out of nowhere, AEW and NWA are doing business together, and she represented the NWA in an amazing way. She kind of injected this, I don't know, not that I was going to say quality to the women's division that wasn't there at the time because Britt Baker was injured, but and I didn't want to be rude to people like Sheeta or anything, but there was this just oh, holy shit, she's playing on a whole other level. And it was interesting for me as an NWA Power fan to see her on AEW and not only hold her own, but almost be the benchmark of the women's division. She lost her belt to Serena Deeb in NWA, which is, I'm not sure what that's about, but anyway. But yeah, she looks like she's about to have a feud with Britt Baker, so we might not talk to each other
yes,
going forward. There's going to be some interesting conversations on our Dynamite show.
We will become true enemies. There'll be 2 Dynamite shows. There'll be your 20 minutes and my 20 minutes.
Yeah, Hollywood and Wolfpack. But yeah, I mean, for Thunder Rosa to, she's a bolter, right? You wouldn't. There's no halfway through the year if someone had said oh, you'll pick Thunder Rosa as your female wrestler of the year, I'd be like, it's either Britt Baker or Bayley. It's one of those two. But yeah, Thunder Rosa it is.
It's absolutely great call.
We're at the end, man. We're at the.
We got
best male wrestler of the.
We got promotion of the year too. We got a couple.
Oh, we do. Do we want to do promotion of the year now and then male wrestler last, or
what do you want to do?
I think it's hugely sexist if we do.
Yeah,
male. But let's do male and then promotion.
Sounds good.
Who have you got as male?
Kenny Omega.
Male wrestler.
It's pretty hard to.
Why? I'm joking.
I feel like I've said so much about Kenny. I just can't believe, given the start of this year, I sort of thought, that he was not all that, that maybe there wasn't all that much gas left in the tank, and maybe he's not that interesting, and maybe as a pure in-ring performer, he's great, but maybe his personality's lacking. He's great. He's the best male wrestler of this year. By an absolute country mile, I would say. Who you got?
I have Kenny Omega as well.
You mark.
But I do have someone I want to mention, if that's okay.
No, sorry. No, it's not okay.
Well, I just Drew McIntyre. I feel really sorry for Drew McIntyre because he is a great champion. I love him. He is one of the 6 or 7 people in WWE that I'm, interested to watch when a pay-per-view comes around. And he, hopefully, vaccinations are rolling out, people start going back to wrestling shows, and he will pop. People love him.
Yes.
But there's been the whole time he's been champion, there's ratings are falling and there's no crowds and blah, blah. And you get people comparing him to Diesel as one of the worst world champions and stuff like that, which is just bullshit. But
I mean, I am excited for him to join Sheamus a week after Sheamus debuts on Dynamite, and they announce a secret third man that will help them defeat Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and one of the Young Bucks. But sure.
That would be awesome. Miro can join that. It'll be, what's it called? The United Nations order, they call themselves. Right. NATO.
There's no...
But Drew McIntyre is fantastic. And he just seems like, he's so comfortable in the role now and just seems like a fucking rad guy. He just seems like a really nice dude whenever you see him interviewed and stuff. And so I just wanted to, I think Kenny Omega by far, I actually would have Kenny Omega and then John Moxley and then Drew McIntyre as third as the male wrestler of the year. But I just wanted to give him a shout out because it feels like some of the commentary compared to like how fans feel are completely disconnected on Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
But at least WWE for their part are seeing that, he is a talent. Because when Randy Orton beat him, I was like, oh fuck, well here we go. We'll never hear of Drew McIntyre ever again.
Yes.
But yeah, he's done a really good job in a very difficult year. And the same thing for John Moxley as well, holding the AEW belt for the majority of the year with very few crowds and it must have been difficult for all of the guys throughout the course of the year to be doing wrestling when there's no crowds, and crowds are so integral to what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is it. Promotion of the year.
Our last one. This is pretty exciting. So I think we will have different...
Do you think the listeners are like, I wonder what they're going to pick? Or they're like, just say AEW and get the fuck out of here.
Well, AEW is not my pick.
Oh, holy shit.
I've picked, for promotion of the year for 2020, I've picked Impact Wrestling.
Oh, wow.
So I have a reason.
Congratulations, Impact. Do you want to explain yourself here, Kafabe?
First of all, AEW sort of tread water, and they did some great things, but they sort of are where they are. WWE did the opposite, and WWE is drowning.
They are not doing well.
Impact started the year as LOL TNA, the internet joke. No one was paying any attention to them. They weren't even in the 150 top rated shows, so they didn't. We don't even know what they were rated as because they weren't in the top 150 shows for that night that they aired. Now they're 123rd at the end of the year, which is not great, but it's way better than being unranked. They started the year with a female world heavyweight champion in Tessa Blanchard, which is pretty fucking cool. The heavyweight title picture at the moment, is 3 African-American wrestlers, which I don't think has ever happened before in a major televised promotion.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
And for the last few weeks, they've had the AEW World Champion, coming on their show, talking. He's become integral in storylines. He is going to wrestle on their next pay-per-view. If you had have said Kenny Omega will be wrestling for Impact by the end of 2020... at the start of 2020, it's actually unfathomable that this has happened. So that's my pick.
Yeah, wow, I did not expect that. I've been completely swerved, bro.
Yep, I did. I hit you with the chair. I hit you with a microphone thrown by Don Callis.
Oh no! God damn it!
Yeah.
I'm bloody Sting. I'm too trusting. I'm going to go with AEW. There's no way I'm giving it. I've given every other bloody award to WWE. I'm not giving this one. I each week, and I think a lot of it is because, there is the element of like we do this podcast together and we get to talk about Dynamite, and that's awesome. I love it. But there is now, basically the last time that I was excited about watching Raw or SmackDown was the Punk Bryan era, and I know I joke, like people tease me about bringing them up all the time, but it was because there was like a 18 month period where I was legitimately excited to get home and watch wrestling.
Yeah.
And then that stopped and I kept watching wrestling, and it's only really been since Dynamite's come back into the scene where I've felt that way again. And especially this year, as much as I've enjoyed Impact, and there's been moments obviously of WWE that I've enjoyed earlier in the year, Dynamite's been so consistent. AEW's been so consistent with their booking, the talent that they've brought in. And then in the second half of the year have shown that they get what was important about the territory system in working with NWA and now Impact. And just little things like pushing like Sunny Kiss with Joey Janela, just things that I don't know. They just wouldn't happen on WWE.
Yeah.
And now I'm at a point where like, AEW made me sign up to get an Impact pass. You know what I mean? It's only because of Warhorse having a match against Cody Rhodes that I've come across Danhausen and now have a bloody Honor Club thing as well. Like they're not just they're the Chris Jericho of promotions. They're hugely unselfish. they're putting other promotions over, and I think the people who love AEW will love them even more for that. I know I do. And yeah, I can't, every week I can't wait to see what they've done. Dark probably could be a bit shorter, a little bit shorter. 2 hours this week, guys. Seriously. But besides that, it's my only criticism is Dark is too long. But yeah, there's been very few moments where I've not enjoyed watching AEW this year.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would give them a solid second to Impact Wrestling.
I love the fact that you've picked Impact Wrestling, man. I agree with you. I think like they've done amazing things, and it shows that the people who are in charge of both Impact and AEW are very like-minded, and it's great that you've got people who are running AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor, NWA are all sort of thinking the same way, that we should be supporting each other because wrestling needs it.
Who would have thought at the start of this year that would be like, wow, more people need to think like Billy Corgan?
You would have. I would have. What would Billy do? There's a t-shirt.
Open a tea shop in Chicago and tweet about chemtrails.
That's the back of the t-shirt. All right, man. Well, I hope this was entertaining for you, for the guys. I know Matt and I love doing it.
Yeah. No, we're going to do one of these every week now. So,
except for my Mandy and Otis. The look on Matt's face when I said it was utter disgust. I've never seen him so unhappy with one of my opinions.
It's not that I'm unhappy. It's that after this, I'm going to contact your family and have like your like personal rights taken away from you and have you sectioned. Because clearly something's not right, and like I want to intervene early.
Just got a big heart, man. Just love.
Yeah, well, we're going to see how much you love shock therapy.
Fair enough. That's probably fair. All right. Well, we should.
You just described an invasive, horrible mental health treatment that doesn't work and is discredited as probably fair because of you sharing an honest opinion.
Yeah, but I did say that Otis and Mandy was my favourite wrestling storyline of the year, so I can understand your where you're coming from as well. I can see both sides of the story.
Thank you.
All right, dude, let's finish this up. This is so much fun. It's been a great year. We've got even more stuff happening next year, man.
Yeah, we do. We're starting ECW.
Well, actually, we've got... Well, it kind of evens out because the NWA show is now dead. Thanks, NWA. And but it will be replaced by our ECW monthly show that we will have out sometime in January.
Exciting. I'm excited.
It is exciting. No, I'm super excited because I don't know anything about it. So I'm looking forward to being just absolutely I'll have no idea. So and Matt will be in charge of that. He'll be hosting it, and I'll just be sitting there going, "Oh yeah, it was fun. I loved it."
I'm the I'm going to be the face in this one. I'm going to be poking Damo's eyes and raking his back.
Good. I've had this itch right at the base of my back for ages. I live on my own. I just can't get to it. Anyway, let's go.
Let's go. Goodbye.
That was the year that was. Until next year, brother friends, Pepe is dead.
Enjoy your wolfies.
Christmas wolfies.